Hello there, kia ora, and congratulations on the new job. I realize you're probably sitting there wondering what new job, but it turns out that if you've ever ended up in one of our hospitals or been to see a doctor, you're now technically one of the 14 layers of management that the Prime Minister said was causing Health New Zealand to overspend and had nothing at all to do with them underfunding the entire sector. I guess that also means technically it's your fault that you needed to go to a hospital that they didn't fund for medical inflation rates of around 11% or population growth of around 2% or an aging population which requires way more investment in the health sector. This week, Dr. Shane Retti's office finally provided their list of the 14 proclaimed layers of management, but it includes patients who are clearly not Te Whatu Ora management. But it also included frontline staff like doctors, nurses, and support staff, who are also not managers. In fact, they're the ones that we were told were not going to be impacted at all by budget cuts, but they're on the list of 14 layers of management that the government wants to deal with, along with patients. But look, don't worry. Dr. Lester, I've never met a DHB I haven't been able to tank. Levy, the new commissioner for Te Whatu Ora, has promised the Prime Minister that it's absolutely too much management, mush, and not underfunding to the sector that's causing the problems. Which is an amazing coincidence considering that's exactly what Dr. Retti and the Prime Minister said when they announced who it was that they'd hired to be the commissioner for Health New Zealand's board. And their evidence is actually that there are too many nurses, and that's somehow blowing budgets. But somehow, there's also not enough nurses or medical practitioners to keep the hospital emergency rooms open overnight in Northland. In fact, there are record numbers of nursing positions needing to be filled, with data from Te Whatu Ora showing that more than a quarter of shifts are currently understaffed in hospitals, and frontline staff being told that they can't pick up extra shifts and can't have any extra earnings. And heaps of the people who are migrating to New Zealand to become nurses, well, they're struggling to find placements. And while the government has promised to find ways to get more people training as nurses and staying in the country, there's still a more immediate need to get nurses in from overseas while these plans are being put through and people train, which is actually one of the reasons why Winston Peters' recent trip to the Philippines is kind of interesting. Because while he was there, he announced that the government would be making clearer pathways for Filipino migrants with specific skill sets to get into the country. Some of those skill sets included nursing. It was actually a really big one. In fact, about 1,000 Filipino nurses a year are already coming to Aotearoa to work. And while there's certainly an irony in seeing Winston, co-governance is like Nazi Germany, two Wongs don't make a right Peters with his hands out asking for help from an Asian country, it seems that the trip may have actually encouraged some Filipino nurses to look elsewhere. See, media coverage within the Philippines pointed out that he misled around how much the minimum wage was, which he claimed was almost $30 an hour, that the economy is going well, that there's plenty of work for everyone, and that we've got a very fair tax system. And that got a lot of pushback from people in the Philippines, calling him out for, well, utter bullshit. So once again, this government is misrepresenting a problem. It's refusing to acknowledge it's made mistakes, it's blaming everyone else for that problem, and finding ways to make that problem worse. For a government that claims that patients are part of the 14 layers of management they need to get rid of, I guess that's what they consider getting the health sector back on track.